Hello, everyone, and welcome to CAS Education Week. This session will be focusing on trust management. My name's Anthony, and I'm part of the training and documentation team. I'll be taking you through today's session. A couple of housekeeping rules before we get the session underway. You will be placed on listen-only mode, but I do have a number of colleagues sitting in ready to take your questions. So keep them firing through today's session, just using the Q&A option located in your Zoom application. I also just want to point out that this webinar will be recorded and placed on the BGL community, so you can review the content at a later stage as well. This week, we celebrate Education Week, which is an opportunity for you to partake in a series of webinars with an aim for you to get the most out of your CAS 360 investment. As I mentioned, if you've missed a session, check them out on the BGL community. We've still got a number of sessions to run, so make sure you get along and partake in the week. To register as well for any upcoming sessions, I'm just going to put a link in the chat so you'll be able to register for the remaining sessions. Let's take a look at the agenda for today. So we're going to focus in on trust management. I'm going to show you how to add a trust into CAS 360, how to create trust relationships and how they're managed in CAS 360. We're going to look at unit holders and how to create transactions. We're going to focus in on distribution statements for unit trusts and also discretionary trusts, and I'll show you the key differences between the two. I'll show you how trust events are entered into CAS 360 and how you can also get the supporting documentation out of CAS 360 for all those particular events and items that I've previously mentioned. With that said, I do want to point your attention to the CAS 360 license. You can have an unlimited number of trusts entered in your CAS 360. I just want to point out that it's not counted towards your company subscription numbers. So you have this feature available. All you need is an active CAS 360 subscription, and you'll be able to enter in all your trusts, because you've got unlimited numbers. Let's have a look at what that looks like within the product. So I'm going to flick across now to CAS 360. No, we're not finished yet. All right, so I've logged into CAS 360, and before I go through and add a trust, I'm just going to reference the help, which has all the content that I'm covering today. So I'll put that in the chat for you to have a look at a later stage. And I'm just going to go back into CAS 360. So you now have that article, and that article details everything we're covering today. And you can see all the other items as well on the left-hand side about trusts and CAS 360. So you have all that documentation. So I can have your undivided attention. And the first step that we're going to cover is how to actually add a trust into CAS 360. So on the main menu, you simply navigate to trusts. So you can just simply select that, and that'll bring you to your trust selection screen, which is fairly similar or very similar to your company selection screen. So it'll list all your entities and they're selectable thereafter. So once you've added your trust, you'll be able to select it. Your trust will be at the top, and all these tabs, which we'll work through today, will be related to the trust that you have selected. Now, how do you actually add the trust to the trust selection screen? Well, you've got two options. And I'm going to click on the Add Trust button. And there are two ways you can do it. You can use the CAS 360 UI, and it'll take you through a wizard to importing all the important dates and data for your trusts. or for the Excel wizards out there, you'll be able to download a template. So I'll just click on that so you can see it. If I click on the template, I'll be able to open up that template and it'll open up Microsoft Excel. There's a number of tabs that you need to work through. There are instructions that you can follow as well on the first tab, but it's a quite straightforward process. And just to quickly go through how to set up using the spreadsheet, if a column's highlighted in red, that means that that particular column is a mandatory field. So you would list your trust name and then put in all the details that follow that particular trust on that particular row. You can have a number of trusts added as well. So you can see there that you can add as many trusts as you like using this particular spreadsheet. So that's the trust details. You've got trust beneficiaries if it's applicable to the trust. And once again, you'll be able to put in who the beneficiaries are of the trust. And that will import into CAS 360. Likewise for unit holders. So if it is a unit holder trust, you'll be able to put in the unit holder details. And once again, on the importation, it will create those unit holders against the trust. And finally, you'll see a bit later on when we dive into relationships, and there are many relationships that CAS 360 supports. So just by using that drop-down menu in the spreadsheet, you can see there from trustee to settler to appointer, that there are a number of relationships there that are supported. And once again, you can put in who the trustee is of the trust and then populate the details. And we will import that into CAS 360 for you. So if you're familiar with Excel and you prefer to put in the data in Excel, that is definitely an option for you to establish all your trusts in CAS 360. Now you're finished with the Excel spreadsheet. How do you actually bring it into CAS 360? Well, it's a simple process. All you need to do is log a support call and attach the template. We'll do the rest. We'll be able to import all those trusts that are on that particular spreadsheet for you. I'm just going to close out of that. Now to log a support call, I'm sure you've all done it before. It's just by using the telephone button at the top of the screen and following the wizard to log that particular call. Don't forget to attach that spreadsheet so we can populate all the trusts for you in the trust selection screen. What I'm going to take you through now is a manual way of adding the trusts using the CAS interface. So I'm going to click on Add Trust, and I'm going to click on Add New Trust. Firstly, you need to select the jurisdiction that it relates to. So CAS is multi-jurisdictional, but we're just going to focus on Australia today. The next step is the trust name. Now, this is going to look at your contacts database. So the trust does need to be set up in your contact list first before you can add it to your trust selection screen. So I always recommend, and this is a tip for the day, is to do a search and have a look if the trust is actually added to your contact screen. And if it is, simply select it. So you want to avoid duplicate records here. That's why I always recommend doing a search first. Now, if the trust isn't showing, you'll notice that you've got the ability to add a new contact just by clicking on the green plus sign. So I can click on the green plus sign, and then I can finish off the details for adding the trust. So I can put in, say, the establishment date and address. Once again, we're searching for the address. If the address doesn't exist, you can simply add an address by clicking on the green plus sign and then hitting save. So what that'll do is it'll add the trust to the contact screen, and it'll bring you back to the add trust wizard that you need to complete. So we've added our trust name. Using the drop-down menu now for the trust type, you can see there that there are 4 trusts that are supported in CAS 360. We've got the unit, the discretionary, the hybrid, and the bare trust. So those are your supported trusts now in CAS 360. It's going to select unit trust for today's example. We're going to put in an address, and these addresses will be used in all the report packs that you prepare in CAS 360. Finally, we're going to select who the trustee is. Now, if the trustee is a company that you manage in CAS 360, you can leave this toggle on and then simply search for the company that would be in your company selection screen. If the company isn't a part of your company selection screen, you'd toggle that to no, and then it'll go to your contacts database. Once again, that's a similar process to what we did for the trust name. So I'm just going to toggle that on and say that the trustee is a company. Another tip for the day is labels. Make use of your labels, because labels will be able to, and you would have seen this in previous sessions, you'll be able to filter on labels, you'll be able to report on labels, and you can also create workflow on labels. So just add a label so you can see how that works. All right, so you'll see there that we've got, sorry, I didn't create the label correctly, but I've got the trust selection now in the list, and I've got my label now selected here. So the importance of labels is once you've created your label, they will be selectable on the left-hand side here. So I'll be able to flag the label, and you'll notice that it does actually filter based on the label that you've selected. If you click on the star, you're saving it as a favorite, so it'll always populate just your favorite list for you. As I mentioned before as well, reporting, you can actually report on labels as well. So I'm just going to go to the report screen. And we do have two reports now available for trusts. We've got a listing report and then a trust report, which shows all the information and important dates related to that particular trust. So if I go to the trust listing report, and you'll see there that labels is an option. And if I had hundreds of trusts, I'd be able to actually navigate that by just showing or by selecting which label is applicable. So in this case here, we'll go with level 1. And you can see there that I can now export my report based on that particular label setting. So that's just a quick report just showing you a listing report on what trusts have been entered into CAS 360. Whilst we're covering reports, I'm just going to quickly show you as well the trust report. So if I go to trust report, once again, you do have labels as an option. So definitely make use of your labels for filtering and reporting, and also customizing your reports. I'm going to select the BGL Family Trust, and now I'm going to export this to PDF. So here we're just showcasing the trust report. You'll be able to see all the details of the trust collated on this particular report. So if you want to report of a particular trust and all the details that have been entered into CAS, from unit holders to relationships to events, and to what documents have been prepared, that's all available on this particular report. So what I'm going to focus your attention on now is how do I actually enter in these details into CAS 360? So how do we put in the trust details, the other details, unit holders and relationships? So I'm going to exit out of the report now. I'm going to go back into trusts from the main menu, and I'm going to select the BGL Family Trust. Now, once I've selected the BGL Family Trust, we're going to have a look at the first tab, which is Trust Details and Other Details. Now, these two tabs, and even Tax Details, these three tabs are a summary of all the important dates and key information that relate to the particular trust. Most of this data will come from when you first set up the trust or establish the trust in CAS 360. It is editable. So you can see here that if you've got your trust that was, say, updated today, I can select the date and quickly enter in that information and click save. And that will update the data and also flow onto your reports. You've got an option here as well to upload your trust deed. So if you've got an electronic copy and you want to centralize your documents in one location, you can attach the trust deed to the trust. And if you do have any updates to the trust deed, you can upload additional copies. So you're not locked into just that one trust deed. If you want to view that trust deed, you can go to options, edit, and click on the preview button, and that will populate the trust deed. That'll bring the trust deed to screen. You'll also be able to see the trust deed in the document screen. As I mentioned, we'll have a look at the other two tabs, the other detail tab now and the tax details. So here's your other details. We've just got some internal client referencing numbers and tax details as well. So it's just collating all that important information in one central location, so you don't have to go searching through more than one system to get that trust information out. And once again, that'll populate on your reports for you. Let's take a look at the relationship screen. So simple fun, CAS 360 will be able to track all your relationships and prepare supporting documentation. So let's take a look at what relationships are supported in CAS 360 by hitting the Add Relationships button. You'll see there that there's several relationships that you can set up in CAS 360 and get the supporting document out. So let's say, for example, we want to appoint an accountant. So I'm going to go Add Relationship and select Accountant. In the name field, I need to select the contact. So we'll just go with Homer Simpson for today, and we'll say that he was appointed today, and let's hit save. So that information has now been entered into CAS 360, and we do have the supporting documentation for that transaction as well when I click on Prepare Forms. So if I click on Prepare Forms, you're going to be able to get out the trustee minute and resolution and the register of trust relationships for that particular appointment. You've just got a simple summary on the left-hand side as well. And another tip for the day is if you've got any additional documents sitting outside CAS 360 that you want to distribute to your clients, say that an invoice has been generated from an external system and you want to include it with this particular pack that you're going to distribute to your clients, you can click that upload button and upload any additional documents before you deliver it to your clients. We definitely recommend using the email function. And if you don't have your client's email entered into the system, this is a good opportunity for you to just quickly cross-check that information. And if you need to make a change to that particular email address, you can simply just click on it with your cursor and update the email and simply hit save before you dispatch it to your client. So that's trust relationships. So that was quickly showing you how to do an appointment. Now, this is pretty similar to, say, the director's screen that you would have seen for a company when you wanted to, say, resign or remove someone as a relationship. So you can see there that there's a status column. I'll be able to simply use the drop-down menu here as well and show that I want to resign now Homer as the accountant. And I can confirm that with the tick. And once again, the supporting documentation will prepare for that particular resignation. Okay, let's move on to the unit holders screen. Now, at this particular moment, we have John Cena as a unit holder. And if I click on the Add Transaction screen, you can see there that there are a number of transactions that I can add for a unit trust. You can see there that we support a number of different types of transactions. And it's very similar to what you would have seen in the company shareholders screen. So I'm just going to keep it simple today and process an allotment. So I'm going to select allotment of the list. We've got our transaction date and the allottee. We'll stick with Homer. And we're going to allot some ordinary shares, and let's just give him 10 shares. And we can save that information. Now, what happens when you save that information, you do have the graphics updating, showing you the current units that have been attached to those particular unit holders. So you do have a quick summary, a visual display, and you've also got the ability to prepare the supporting documentation for that allotment. So I can click on Prepare Forms, and you can see there that you've got your trustee minute resolution, your unit holder minute resolution, your register of unit holders, your unit allotment journal, more importantly, your unit certificate. So you can see there that I can click into it and CAS 360 will automatically prepare your unit certificate for you. And finally, you'll be able to dispatch that to your clients using that send all button or downloading it to your desktop and maybe sending it via mail to the client. Now, with the unit holders screen, we've seen how the transactions are supported, but I do want to have a look at the distributions. And you can create distribution statements. And what we're going to show you now is distribution statements for a unit trust and distributions for a discretionary trust. Now we're going to start with the unit trust and we're going to hit add distribution. You can see at the top there, we've got the date that it was declared. We've got the type of distribution. So we're just going to go with ordinary. We've got our amount type. We're just going to go that it was a distribution per unit, but using the drop-down menu, you'll see there that I've got a per unit option or a total distribution that I can pay out to the unit holders. So you do have that flexibility as to how you want to proceed. We'll say it's based on their unit holding. We'll say that they get $100 for each unit they hold. We've got our tax rate. And then we've got our distribution type as well, whether it's a final or interim distribution. I'm going to hit the save and prepare documents. And you'll see here that we've got our document pack with our cover letter and our distribution statement, our declaration, and a listing of the distributions paid. Let's click on the distribution statement just so you can see the template that we've got in CAS 360 as the default. So there's your distribution statement for Homer, and there's your distribution statement for John Cena. So all that is available now in CAS 360 for you to prepare. Let's take a look at what happens if it was a unit trust. So I'm going to go back to my trust selection screen, and I'm going to select a CAS discretionary trust. And I'm going to show you the beneficiary screen. So instead of unit holders, we've got now a beneficiary screen. And it's quite simple to add beneficiaries. You'll see here that we have 2 beneficiaries already set up in the product. And if I click on the add beneficiaries button, you'll see how easy it is to add your beneficiaries into CAS 360 using the UI. Let's hone in on the distribution statement. So I'm going to click on distributions, and then I'm going to click on add distribution. We'll start from the top. We've got our date declared. We've got our currency. So you could flick between different currencies. And we've got our distribution type. We're going to work through these 3 options. So I'll take you through the difference between the 3 options available. So we'll start with the dollar amount. And you've got your tax data column. So you've got your two beneficiaries, we'll start with, and then you've got your tax data columns. Now, we've selected to use the dollar amount. So we can just hard code that we want to put in the actual amount that's going to be distributed to the beneficiaries. So example, Homer gets $100, John gets $200. And then we continue with the allocation for the other tax data. Now, I want to also point out that if that tax data is not applicable to your distribution, you can click on the remove button. So that's the trash can icon, and that will remove the column from your allocation worksheet. To add more tax data, you do have this plus sign at the top here. And if you click on it, you'll see there that we have other tax labels that you can add to the distribution statement. If there's something you'd like to see added to that particular list, please leave your feedback in CAS 360 and we can take a look at that for you. All right, so we've had a look at the dollar amount. I want to show you the other two options. You've got the ability to prepare based on a percentage. So I'm going to switch it to percentage. And by switching it, it's actually going to remove all the unsaved distribution data. So I'm going to proceed with that. And now I've got the ability to just type in a percentage. So say that I want Homer Simpson to get 20% and John Jones to get 80%. And once again, I just continue with the allocation of that worksheet. You can see there that I've got a combined total at the bottom as well. So we're building our allocation. Finally, we've got our free text. So you've got the ability to have the best of both worlds. You could put a dollar amount. So we could say that he's getting $400 and $100. And we can use percentages for another column. So we could say that 70% is getting allocated for the unfranked. And we could use even free text. So we could say first $10,000 to be allocated. So those are the three options when you're creating your distribution statement. If you want to add beneficiaries on the fly as well, you've got the ability to click on the Add Another Beneficiary button. So let's save and prepare the documents. It'll bring me to my document production screen. And from here, I can create a cover letter. I can have a look at the declaration of the distribution. And that's going to collate all the information that we put into that worksheet. So you can see there that Homer got $400 for the franked dividends and John Jones got $100 and so et cetera, et cetera. And when you've reviewed the details, you can once again dispatch that directly to your clients. Okay, the final thing that I want to touch on with distributions is if I click on the button again, I've got a review distribution button. And this is going to show you the previously prepared distributions for that entity. So you can see here that trust. You can see here that I've prepared distribution statements on the 6th of the 6th for 2 beneficiaries, and I did it again today for another 2 beneficiaries. And if I had to regenerate those forms, I could click on the Prepare Forms button. So I'm going to switch over again to the BGL Family Trust and navigate back to the unit holders screen. And I want to point out that that option to review distribution statement is also available. Let's take a look at the event screen now. So we'll move on to one of the final tabs, which is events. And you can see here that we've got a number of events tracked for CAS 360, and you can create a number of events just by hitting that the Add Event button. So you can see there that we support a number of different events in CAS 360, and we can get out all the supporting minutes and documentation for that particular event as well. We've got a summary at the top of the screen based on the data collated below as well. If you've already added your events into CAS 360, you do have the shortcut icons here to create actions. So say, for example, the property had a revaluation. You may be able to go to the Actions button and process that revaluation or the sale, or if it was a return of capital. We could do that with just simply selecting those options. So I'm going to go with the revaluation, and we've got the current value of 800,000. Let's say that the property went up by 100,000. So you can see there that CAS has worked out the difference of 100,000. You can add additional notes if required, and I'm going to hit the Save button. Now, what you'll notice is it creates a transaction line for that revaluation. It also updates my summary for me, and my Prepare Forms button has also generated, and I can have a look at the report pack for that particular event. Let's add another change. So we've got an ANZ loan. I can click on Actions, and let's say that we repaid part of that debt. So I'm going to hit Repay Loan. So it'll show me my current loan value, and let's say that we made a $5,000 payment. You can see once again it's tracking the outstanding value, and I can hit the Save button. Once again, it creates a line item for you. So you've got the audit history. You've got the summary at the top as well, updating for you. And you can see here my Prepare Forms button has gone to 2 as a counter. So I'm going to click on the Prepare Forms button. Now, to the left of screen, I'm sure you've seen it before, we do provide a quick summary of all the changes. So you can see there that we had an asset revaluation and we had a loan repayment. If I wanted to remove that data from the report pack, I can simply click on the Remove button. Now, this system will now generate a cover letter and the minute and resolution, and also the Register of Trust events. So I'm just going to quickly click on the preview so you can see what they look like within CAS 360. So there's your simple resolution showcasing the differences that we put in with the revaluation and the loan repayment. And you can see there that CAS 360 will generate a register of the trust events. So that's all the data that we've entered into CAS 360. This will also generate on the report screen when you generate the trust report. So if you just want a quick snapshot of the trust in question, you can just generate the trust report. And once again, you can distribute that to your clients by sending that via email or downloading that to your desktop. All right, I'm going to close out of that, and I'm going to go to the last tab, which is the Documents tab. Now, this tab will show you all the documents that you have either uploaded, and you can upload supporting documentation by clicking on this Upload button into CAS 360. And that's a tip to centralize all your documentation in one location. But you'll also see other minutes and resolutions that you've prepared for that particular trust. So it's not a global database. Your global database for documentation is from the main menu, clicking on the Documents menu icon. Okay. Just going to navigate back to my PowerPoint. So I've shown you how the power of CAS 360 and how it can help you manage your trusts. But if you are searching for a platform to help streamline your CGT compliance and administration for trusts, companies or individuals, I want you guys to just take note of Simple Invest 360. We've recently added electronic lodgement for trusts as well. If you do have any questions and you want further information on Simple Invest 360, I have put the head of product for Simple Invest, Andrew Pascoe. So we've got his contact details up on screen. I'll leave that slide up for a moment if you need to grab his details so you can contact him for further information. We do have webinars as well running on Simple Invest, so you're going to be able to sign up to those webinars and see what Simple Invest is all about. If you need those details as well, just simply put it in the Q&A and we're happy to pass that on. That wraps up today's training on trust management. I do want to thank you for your time and hopefully you learned something new today. If you do have any questions, I will leave the Q&A on. So please ask your questions through the Q&A. And I look forward to catching you at the next BGL event. Goodbye for now.